Welcome, Area 2 candidate Paulina Gonzalez-Brito, Peralta community members, and East Bay voters to the Peralta Citizens 2024 Trustee Forum. We are absolutely thrilled to have you with us today. My name is Lee Khan, and I am the editor-in-chief of the Peralta Citizen, the only student-run publication dedicated to covering the Peralta Community College District. I have here with me today my lovely staff members. We are all students here at Peralta and share a deep love for the district that you seek to serve for the next 4 years. Today, we'll be asking you questions to get to know you and your policy objective. Members of the public today will have an opportunity to view the forum, but questions will be limited to those asked by the citizen staff. As a reminder, this forum is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be published on our website along with our endorsement in the coming days. We have spent hours preparing for this forum and are adhering to a rigid structure to ensure smooth sailing from here. Members of the Citizen will take turns asking you questions that we predetermined together as a class last week. You will have 3 minutes to answer each question. The timer will begin as soon as the question asker finishes stating the question. Today, we'll be keeping time and providing you with your 1 minute and 30-second warnings. If you take less than 3 minutes to answer the question, we will move on to the next question. Please treat the time limits with respect and end your response promptly once you are told that your time is up. If you continue to speak past the 3-minute mark, the editor-in-chief, me, will cut you off so that we can move on to the next question. To ensure fairness, if we get through all of our questions and we still have time remaining, we will end the forum early. I will be the point person for asking any clarifying questions that you have about the process or about any of the questions. You may ask to hear the question again as many times as you need to, but the timer will not be restarted. If you do not understand the question, I'm happy to provide definitions of any words contained in the question. However, questions such as, "Why are you asking this?" will not be addressed. We welcome questions about the publication, our reporting process, and our editorial decisions, but in the interest of time today, we will not be answering any questions on those topics. However, feel free to contact me anytime outside the forum today. I'll be happy to discuss those questions with you. At this point, if you have any questions about the forum process, I am happy to answer them now.
So thank you.
And reminder to speak up because the microphone is right there. And we just want to make sure that folks on Zoom have an easier time hearing. And no worries, some of us aren't all used to projecting our voice. I am because I'm a theater kid. Is Elliot today? So sorry, already had a blunder. Elliot will be keeping the time for this forum today. All right. If that's everything, then we are ready to start with the very first question, which will be asked by me. So tell us about your background. Why do you want to serve as Area 2 trustee?
Sure. So first of all, thank you for the opportunity to interview for an endorsement. I really appreciate it. A little bit about myself. So my whole career, I've worked in racial and economic justice. I started my career working for a labor union, the farm workers union, then the hotel workers union, where I got to walk the picket line with my dad, who was a member and a leader in the union. And then I moved on to a nonprofit working on housing justice and tenant rights. And most recently, I moved up here almost 11 years ago, where I'm the CEO of Rise Economy, a nonprofit working to close the racial wealth gap and knock down the historical barriers that BIPOC people have in building intergenerational wealth. And so I say all that to say that I think for me, being a trustee is important because education is economic justice. If we can provide people the opportunities to a good education like Peralta offers, then it opens up all kinds of economic opportunities for them. And I think East Oakland, where I live and where I currently serve, has long been disinvested and has long suffered from a lack of economic opportunities. So I really do believe that by offering the CTE classes that we offer to East Oakland, if we can offer the, for younger people who are trying to potentially go to a four-year university, offering them an opportunity to be a community college first, all of that is about economic opportunities and economic justice. And that's what I really hope to focus on as a trustee, and why I decided to throw my hat in the ring.
Thank you. And I just want to check with Romy, who's in on the Zoom. Were you able to hear that okay? Were folks on Zoom able to hear that? Romy's giving a thumbs up. Great. So you're speaking, enunciating, and the mic is picking it up. So great. Next question, Ivan.
Good afternoon, Paulina. My name is Ivan Sarabia. I'm a staff writer here. I have a second question. In your own words, what are the duties of a trustee at PCCD?
Yeah.
What should voters know about the seat?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, the most important job we have is firing and hiring the chancellor. I should say that the other way around, hiring and firing the chancellor. And we did that in December with a new chancellor. We deliberated quite a bit. We interviewed, quite many candidates. So I think I say that to say also that means we not only support the chancellor, because if she's successful, she will make Peralta successful, but we also have to hold her accountable. We have to ask the tough questions. We have to push back when needed. It's a dual role, both in support and accountability. And I think with accountability, the good news is we have a chancellor, I think, who's willing to take that accountability and that pushback and really be listen to it and respond to it as needed. But I think that's the most important job as a trustee that I have. I think the other is representing our area. What are the needs of the area that we live in, that we serve? How can we better connect to organizations in that area to do outreach, recruitment, and marketing for Peralta? How can we help with recruitment efforts to bring more residents from our areas into the district? And I think to, make sure that we are hearing from people within our district about what's important to them for Peralta. Are they having trouble? I met with somebody the other day who was telling me they were really having trouble enrolling in classes at Peralta. And that gives me information about, is our enrollment process working the way it should? Are we creating barriers to enrollment for students who want to enter Peralta? So being able to hear, from our constituents what the issues are, and being able to then bring those to the dais and to the chancellor to be able to raise those issues.
Thank you. And everyone flip to the next page. Next question, Tamara.
Paulina, Tamara Hope, staff writer. What would be your top 3 priorities as trustee if reelected?
Yeah, I think, so I have my platform up on my website. I invite you to take a look at it. It's more than 3, but I'll talk about 3. The first is students first. I think we have to, any decision we make about Peralta, budgetary, strategic planning, whatever it is, we need to focus on students and make sure that we're looking at it a lens and how it impacts students. So I would say that's, and one of the things I've heard, I went to a meeting last year that the student trustees hosted with student leaders. And one of the things I heard was the difficulty with last minute class cancellations. And so I heard that, and I've done my own research. I've talked to the chancellor, and are there ways that we can improve on that? Maybe by district-wide scheduling, making sure that we're offering classes when and how students need them, that we don't have classes competing with each other and then they're under-enrolled, and then we have to cancel them at the last minute. So that's something I would like to focus on. The second piece, which is really close to my heart, is equity. It's what I've dedicated my life's work to. It's also a priority for me as a trustee, really centering the needs of Black and Brown students. There's disparities in our recruitment and our retention of Black and Brown students at Peralta. And I think we need to address those and really be focused on trying to lessen those disparities. The colleges all have equity plans. I think Merit's goal is to increase recruitment of Black students by 20% and increase completion rates by 15%. So those are strong goals and they're lofty goals, but I think the board has a role in making sure that those equity plans are being implemented and pushing the colleges to do better if they need to. I'd also be interested in Laney becoming a Hispanic serving institution. I met with faculty last year where they told me that okay, thank you. Where we've met the criteria and the qualifications to be an HSI. So I would really like to see that happen and have the chancellor and the president of Laney make that happen. And then the third is, I've already said some of this, so I'll just be brief around Peralta and East Oakland. How can we make better connections? There's churches in the area like St. Benedict's or Acts Full Gospel Church that we can do outreach and recruitment to families. Black Cultural Zone is there. Can we partner with them? So really making those connections between East Oakland and Peralta.
Thank you. Next question, Desmond.
I am Desmond Megley, Associate Editor with The Citizen. I have question number 4. The California community colleges are shifting their funding model to be partially based on student success in addition to enrollment. PCCD has faced budget cuts partially based on declining enrollment. What are 2 specific proposals you have for improving enrollment and driving financial growth in PCCD, given these upcoming shifts in funding allocations?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think the last place we should cut is student services and programming. So I would say that. And I think if we want to grow our enrollment, we have to invest in students. We can't be cutting. We have to spend more money on students in order to really attract more students to our colleges. So I would say that first and foremost. I think the financial aid, so the SCIF, part of the SCIF is how many students of financial aid are we serving? And I've also heard that there's challenges with, my son who's 20 and a student at Laney College, he has to apply for financial aid every year. And I help him with that. And even I have a hard time like figuring out how to apply for financial aid, filling out all the paperwork, making sure my taxes aren't done on time. So how can we streamline the processes for financial aid for our students so we can meet those metrics for the SCIF? Can we have support on campus for students who are filling out financial aid, volunteers who can come in and help? What can the colleges do that would better serve students who are applying for financial aid? So I think those are 2 things I would say: invest in student programming and figure out how we can better meet metrics and focus on financial aid as one of those pieces. So we answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
You ever flip to the next page?
My name is Lila Schmuther-Hermana, and I'm managing editor of The Citizen. I have question number 5. So I have a 2-part question. What is your understanding of the current state of Peralta's facilities? What will be your goals when considering updates, improvements, and modifications?
Yeah, I mean, this is something else that we've heard a lot about. And I heard there was a pipe burst at Laney just and a building closed because I don't know if it was a tower or a different building. And so, I think this continues to happen again and again, and it's a huge problem. It's also a huge problem in recruiting new students. If people don't come to a campus that they can feel proud of, if there's constantly my son who's in machine technology was like, the bathroom is terrible. I don't even want to use it. Maybe that's TMI, but anyway. So I think, that's a small problem. And then you have the bigger problems of like structural problems at the colleges. So elevators were broken down at Merritt and people couldn't use the elevators. The same math happened at at Laney. So I think, so that's my understanding. It's a huge problem and it's a structural problem. I think we've let maintenance go for far too long. I think we need to invest more in maintenance. And I think, what's the second part of your question?
What will be your goals when considering updates, improvements, and modifications to facilities?
I think we need to invest more in maintenance. We have, Measure G funds for new buildings, and I think that's great. And we should implement Measure G and make sure we get new facilities in place where we can. But we also need to invest in maintenance for our current facilities. We can't let them go into disrepair like we have. Maybe we can go out for a bond just for maintenance. It might be something we can do beyond new facilities. So that's what I would say.
All right, thank you. Next question is from Roby.
Hello, Paulina, Romy Bales, staff writer. I have question 6 today. 4 years ago, PCCD made headlines by announcing a new community-based security model and the ratification of the action plan for holistic safety and wellness. What is your understanding of where we are now with Peralta's safety plan and which specific areas need improvement?
Yeah. So we're getting a report tomorrow at the board meeting on the annual security report. So I look forward to getting that report, and we're going to begin to have discussions about what the safety and security plan should be at Peralta, where we need to make improvements and how we may need to revamp it. So I think I look forward to that, and I'm engaging with our board members and our chancellor around that. I mean, we've heard from students time and time again. My own son says this, that he doesn't feel safe at Laney. He takes class, he gets out at 8:50 at night, and he has to wait for a ride to go home. And so, he doesn't feel safe. I think, we had car break-ins in the lot with people sitting in their cars. So I think we have a lot of work to do on safety and security at the Peralta Community College District. And I think we need to also engage stakeholders like faculty, staff, the shared governance model, student leadership. We did a student survey, so we need to take that into account in terms of what the plan needs to look like going forward to make sure we address these issues.
All right, everyone flip to the next. Unless you're done. Yeah. I will flip to the next page. All right, next question, Tamara.
Hi, Tamara Copes again. I have question 7. If elected, what will your approach be to being accessible to the media and your constituents?
Yeah. So, first of all, I really respect the Citizen and the work that you do. It's truly investigative journalism, and you're pushing the district to do better. I think we should be as responsive to the Citizen as possible. We need to be able to answer questions. When you're asking questions about Form 700s, we need to be able to answer those and be responsive as soon as possible. So I think, you have my commitment, and I think I've done this in the last year. You've seen that I'm willing to answer questions and go on the record with the Citizen when you ask a question. We have a policy in place that is about the board president being the one that addresses questions with the media. I understand that in terms of really trying to make sure that we're speaking for the board, as a whole. And so I understand the sentiment behind that. But I also think trustees should be able to speak to the media about issues that are important to their community, the people that they serve, and answer questions about that. And also, be able to speak freely to the media about how they think the college can be better in serving their constituents. But ultimately my approach is openness and responsiveness.
Thank you. And next question is going to be from Tony.
Hi, Paulina, my name is Tony. I'm with the Citizen. I'm a journalist, staff writer. Tell us about your nonprofit organization, Rise Economy, and describe one specific initiative your organization spearheaded that had an equitable outcome for Black, Latinx, and other communities of color.
Yeah. So we're a statewide organization, and we have we're a coalition. And so we represent about 300 community organizations across the state, rural, coastal, urban communities. All of the organizations that are part of our coalition are working with low-income communities and communities of color. And like I said earlier, we're focused on closing the racial wealth gap and knocking down barriers to BIPOC people building generational wealth. And we do that through public policy and corporate policy. We take on Wall Street. We take on the big banks, and we push them to do better and to stop doing harm to our communities. I was talking to somebody today. We were very active in the foreclosure crisis. And we spearheaded a policy called the Homeowner Bill of Rights in Sacramento. We were able to win that policy to make sure that people who are on the brink of losing their homes had a way to fight back to stay in their homes. So I think that's one initiative. I think the other is when banks are merging with each other, we have an opportunity to get them to come to the table and listen to community needs and put together a plan that deals with those community needs. So can they support affordable housing at higher levels, or small businesses owned by people of color? Can they, invest in or have like products, like bank products that are not like charging overdraft fees, and really pushing people out of banking. So we've been able to negotiate, I'm very proud to say, over $100 billion in community benefits and investments, loans, and philanthropy to communities. And we focus a lot of that on communities of color. So our bank supporting small businesses owned by people of color and by women. Are they promoting homeownership? That's an important way to build wealth. Yeah, thank you. So are we promoting homeownership? Do they have programs like down payment assistance for BIPOC people to buy a home? And so those are some of the things we've been able to win completely, and work that I'm really proud of.
All right, thank you. Everyone flip to the next page. Next question will be from Maya.
Hi, Paulina. My name is Maya Kravach. I am a staff writer. This is question number 9. Tell us about a mistake you made since stepping onto the board last year. What would you have done differently?
Great question. Mistake I've made since being on. I'm sure I've made some. Yeah. I think, sometimes I can push really hard. If you've seen me in some trustee board meetings, I can be very vocal and push really hard. And I think that's needed. I don't apologize for that. And I will continue to do that. But I think I should have started with building relationships with the board members themselves, like individual meetings with all the board members, the trustees, so that, they understand where I'm coming from and they can get to know me, and I can understand what's important to them and get to know them. And I think that would really, show where I'm coming from, that I'm coming from a good place, and I think help strengthen the board altogether. So I think that's something I would have done differently. I'm not sure, I guess that's a mistake, because I should have started with the relationship building rather than coming in and like being, full blown. But yeah, I guess that's what I would say.
All right, next question is from Debbie.
Hi, Paulina. My name is Gabriela Garcia. I am a staff writer at The Citizen, and my question for you is, tell us about your voting record as a trustee and what you have prioritized.
Yeah. So one thing comes to mind in terms of the kind of values that I hold, and which wasn't a popular position to take, but I'm glad I voted no on it. And that was the previous chancellor's trip to China. And I was very clear from the get-go that I didn't think it was a good idea, given that she was stepping down in a couple of months and it wasn't a good use of resources. And so I voted no. And I think Lewis Quinlan and I were the only ones that voted no. I am proud of that vote. But I think it shows, my priorities in terms of really looking at how we're spending our money and is it the best way to spend it? And also taking hard positions, taking positions even when it's hard, and not backing down when there's pressure to do something differently. So I would say that's my priority. I think the other is, I'm trying to think if there's other things I voted no on and none come to mind at the moment. But I think I've asked the tough questions around budgets and spending. I've pushed our previous chancellor, and I think our current chancellor is much more open and prioritizes shared governance and making sure that we, for instance, actually, I just remembered something. So something around budgeting, and before the board used to take, the trustees used to take a break in August. And that meant when we came back, we had to push through a vote before the state deadline on the budget. Or else we would have, trouble if we didn't do that. So I worked with the chancellor, the current chancellor, and she was very open to this, to move the meeting, our break back to July. So we had more time when we came back to deliberate on the budget. And also hear if there were concerns or questions by the shared governance committees, that they could bring those to the board. We could hear those out and make any changes that might be needed. So I think I want to say that to say I really want to prioritize the shared governance processes. And fortunately, we have a chancellor who also prioritizes them. Yeah, those are some examples.
Awesome. Thank you, Paulina. That is all the questions we have today. You now have 3 minutes to share any final thoughts or closing statements with us.
Thank you. I have to be honest, I was kind of nervous about this interview. Peralta Citizen is tough, as you should be. So thank you, but thank you for the opportunity, and thanks for the opportunity to be in person. I appreciate it. I hope I've earned your endorsement, not just by what I say today, but by my actions over the last year and few months that I've been a trustee. I hope those speak loudly about what my values are and priorities are. That's, really, words only mean so much, but really it's about action and what you do every day that speaks to who you are. And I hopefully I've spoken to you about who I am by the actions I've taken. And also they say whoever you're in company with speaks a lot about who you are. And I've been able to earn the endorsement from the faculty union here and the Peralta Federation of Teachers, SCIU 10-1. Because I really prioritize our staff and faculty, investing in them and retaining our talent. We have a lot of talent there and supporting them. And I think, I've also been able to earn the endorsement from the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges and several council members. So I think did that because they see, who I am. They know my commitment to East Oakland, my commitment to Black and Brown communities, and my commitment to education and what it means for economic justice. So I guess that's all I would say. I hope I've answered your questions, and then please feel free to reach out at any time about anything that you think you want to ask me or have any questions about.
Thank you. That concludes our forum today. We're so grateful that you were able to come and introduce yourself to the public today. Look out for an email from me in the coming days to let you know when we publish our endorsement. That will be all.
Okay.
Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.